you're working on clearing your signal so that you can broadcast out something that's more of your choosing. It seems like you're just like not into doing the meditations or practices either.
I'm not really that into it. Honestly, I'm a little like I don't get me wrong, I think the book is great. I love the information, but I'm not like feeling the meditations at all.
Hello and welcome to Sunflower Philosophy Podcast. My name is Juliana and this is my co-host DC. And we are both board certified hypnotists. And on this podcast, we talk about anything from spirituality to personal growth to philosophy, whatever really piques our interest. And sometimes we bring it back around to hypnosis. But today's topic is going to be a continuation of our series on the book Becoming Supernatural by Dr. Joe Dispenza. Today we will be talking about chapter 5. And before we get into that, we are going to just check in with each other because there was a meditation exercise at the end of chapter 4 regarding the energy centers. And so I just wanted to check in with you, DC, about how you feel about that meditation so far. Have you felt like you've made any progress? Have you been practicing it?
Well, since we finished chapter 5, not as recently, it's not like we finished it yesterday and we're recording today. And chapter 5 adds on to that. I really don't even remember exactly what that first part was, separate from the continuation. So no, I have nothing to add.
But have you done the like energy centers meditation? Like have you done like the whole thing where you go through all the centers?
Yes, but not on a regular basis.
Okay. So you don't like have any major revelations to report?
I do not. I have none.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I would say I haven't done it as consistently, but I've continued to do it. I talked a bit about my experience at the end of our last episode, but I would say I continue to when I get really into it, I continue to feel like more energized and like sometimes I can really feel a difference in my energy, but I haven't always honestly like sometimes it feels like it takes a lot of energy to do the meditation. So I haven't always been like that diligent with it. Like I sort of did a shorter version of it this morning. But I think I also have been just more like aware throughout the day of the different centers in my body and like I might give them more attention or more intentional attention throughout the day. So that's something I noticed, which I feel like has been helped by the meditation practice. But other than that, similar to you, we got into chapter 5 so soon after chapter 4 and we've had more time with it as well in between reading it and actually recording this. So we kind of added on to that exercise really quickly.
Yeah, I think that's why I don't really have anything to say about that first part alone.
Mm-hmm.
Well, actually, maybe I do have something to say. And it's not so much about the meditation. It's I did jot something down and I'm wondering you know what? Yeah. Now that I'm thinking about it, no, I'm not sure if this is part of that. See, that's the thing. I'm not sure what's part of the previous chapter and what's part of this, but he talks about the future. Like visualize your future, right?
Well, I feel like that was the first meditation. Like, that was chapter
Well, but
3.
then we're all supposed to put it all together then, right?
Well, yeah. I think we are supposed to put it all together. I'm not 100% clear on that, though, because I think he does say that some people that have done his meditations have had a lot of success just doing the energy centers meditation.
Okay. Either way, though, he says, he talks about focusing on, your new future and what your future is going to be like. And I am more of the school of the present, like imagining that this is now as opposed to that it will be. Does that make sense? In other words, like Neville Goddard, is about like imagining it the way it is now as opposed to the idea of thinking about it, your new your new future, the future that's coming to you is the vibration of not having it yet. Does that make sense?
Yeah, but where does he say that? Because we talked a lot. Because remember, like, there was a chapter that was all about the present moment. So I feel like, are you talking about the first meditation where we're supposed to be like imagining, um, like the letters?
I don't know. I put it all together, right? I put the whole thing together now, and then so it might be from a few chapters ago. I'm not sure where it is because now once you put it all together, it's like, well, which chapter is this from? You know what I'm saying?
So you mean, okay, because like the energy centers one is just where you go through each energy center and you like give them gratitude and energy, and like you focus on both like the internal and then like the energy around the center,
Yeah.
and you connect them all. So you're focused really on like,
Okay, so I must be going back more.
yeah.
Okay.
And now, yeah, I think the idea is that you can kind of combine that meditation, the technique, the breathing technique that we learned in chapter 5 that we'll talk about more later, and the first meditation where you focus on the letter that represents something that you're bringing into your life, and you focus on how it feels
Okay.
and some
Yeah,
of the
I guess I'm
specifics of what you
forgetting
want.
what's what because I'm putting it all together now. Like I think you're supposed
Yeah.
to take the thing that we learned in chapter 5 here with the you know, pulling the energy up and tightening everything, right? Combining, I think you're supposed to combine it all, right?
I think so, but I also feel like it's a little ambiguous to me. That's one of the things that I'm not sure
Mm.
about with the book so far. But I also feel like you can focus on just one thing at a time. Like each individual meditation does have its own purpose.
Mm.
So the initial one is more about focusing on a specific outcome in your life that you want to bring in. The second one is more about focusing on the energy of your body. And like, I feel like it's more about your raising your energy and connecting more with your energy centers so that you'll feel more aligned, and also you'll have more energy to contribute towards the things that you want to bring in. And then I feel like the thing that we just learned in chapter 5 is a breathing technique to like really reset you out of survival mode and move that energy like really strongly to the other centers, which again we'll talk more about more later in the episode. But so I
Okay, so scratch everything I just said. Um
but I
I guess I took it as, these are different steps and you're supposed to put them all together, but I think maybe I did misunderstand it.
Well, I think you're like, I think that's something that I'm not clear on either. So I feel like that's something that both of us aren't really sure about. But to me, I it seems like you can take them all together, you can put them all together, or you can focus on one at a time
Mm.
depending on like what you want to do. Like I think he said something about the breath in the breathing in this chapter being like an opening sometimes to a meditation. Like you start with this and then you
Okay.
move
Yeah, that's
into.
what that's what I thought. And that's why I was putting that together with the other stuff.
Yeah, I think that you can do that.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, I don't think he's saying that you shouldn't do that, but I would agree that there is a lack of clarity for me around, okay, like what order should I
Right.
be doing this in? Do I have to do this every time?
Right, right.
Maybe it doesn't really matter. Maybe it's whatever calls to you,
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
whatever you
And
prefer.
actually maybe I even prefer it not feeling like, "Oh, I'm supposed to put this all together."
And I also think that some of this we need to maybe practice more and get more comfortable with before it feels like it can seamlessly flow into the next meditation, because it feels like there's a lot that you need to focus on for each one.
Yeah.
And so I feel like the more, for me at least, I've like put some of them together, but I feel like for me, if I focus on just one at a time, then I can get more comfortable with the whole sequence of events, and it'll be easier to like bring it into another
Right.
meditation. You know what I mean?
So, do you want to, because we're talking about now about the meditation and what, do you want to start with the actual, um,
Chapter? Chapter
well, the
5?
chapter, yeah, well, we could talk about chapter 5 or we could talk, before we do that, we could talk about, no, let's just start talking about chapter 5. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So chapter 5 is,
Reconditioning the body to a new mind.
yes, that's what it's
Yeah.
about. And I feel like it felt like kind of a shorter chapter, but yet there was a lot
That's funny, I thought it was long.
Yeah, I don't know if it
It's
felt short.
30 pages,
I
so
you know
it's
what?
pretty
I
long.
I didn't even look at how many pages. It felt short to me, but maybe it just felt more like the information was very cohesive and like I don't know, I feel like I read it quickly.
I mean, I really loved the information.
Mhm.
Um, I do think it's kinda, like, repetitive, and, but I also I don't have a problem with that as someone who requires repetition to, um, internalize things.
Mhm.
Um, Again, it's another situation of I didn't really learn anything new, but that doesn't mean I didn't enjoy it, like on the first page when he talks about the it's on page 113 when he talks about
Oh, I wrote that down too. I underlined that too.
thoughts cause biochemical reactions in your brain that release chemical signals, and those chemical signals make the body feel exactly the way you were just thinking. Those feelings then cause you to generate more thoughts that make you feel the same way you were just thinking. So your thoughts drive your feelings drive your thoughts, and eventually this loop hardwires your brain into the same patterns, which conditions your body into the same. So basically, he's talking about, that loop of, you think this way, it makes you feel that way, which makes you think more of that. So it's that like Abraham Hicks would call it momentum, right? You create that momentum.
Yeah.
And so again, nothing I didn't know already, but just reminding us that, your listen, your thoughts matter. The getting caught up in thoughts makes a difference, because one leads to another and leads to another. Like
Mhm.
they carry the same vibe. So I think we all can. Oh, I didn't turn the heat down. I hope it's not too loud.
Oh yeah.
Well, okay, so you talk about that, and I'll turn the heat down
It's
on my
probably
phone.
it's probably fine.
It's probably
Um
fine, but
yeah. Well, okay. So
y-
I actually highlighted that quote too. Because yeah, it restates a lot of not only what he's already gotten at, but a lot of things that we've already seen other places. But I like the way that he put it because it just helps for me, it helps like solidify it into like, the biochem like to bring my attention back to the biochemical reactions that happen in the body as like because you thoughts can seem so immaterial, but then you attach that to the emotion, and the emotion is related to the biochemical reactions in the body and the way that different parts of your body are interacting and operating. So it just really I just feel like it really connects the like immaterial with the material.
mhm.
You just really feel that connection through the way that he talks about it, and so I appreciate that. Because I guess I feel like that is kind of the whole point of what he's trying to get across, um, but I think sometimes it gets it across in a way that feels more visceral and more real than just talking about, your thoughts create your reality. It's like this is like, well, what does that really mean? How does that really work? I like that he's getting into the nitty gritty of the functionality.
Well, and he's also reminding us too that well, first of all, you get caught up in this thinking feeling loop, and your body believes that and he said this before in this book, and I think most people know this, that you get caught up in the thinking feeling loop, and your body believes it's living that same past experience over and over again. So your body is experiencing what you're thinking about as if it's actually happening in the moment.
Yeah, and I think we talked about this a bit,
We have, because he
probably
said
because
this
he said
before.
it
Again,
before.
that's what I'm
Yeah,
saying. It is repetitive, but that's fine
yeah,
because it really helps reinforce what, the information.
yeah.
Um, but here's another aspect that I think is really important because he says now those emotions have become so familiar to you that you believe that's who you are. So I think
Hmm.
for us as hypnotists, that one little line in and of itself is extremely important because you could get caught up in this thinking feeling loop to the point where you believe that it's your identity.
Mhm.
And you
Yeah.
believe that that's just the way I am, that's just the way it is, and as if it cannot change. And that is not true.
Mhm.
You can change, and I mean, that's what, hypnosis is all about, and that's what his whole process here is all about, is getting, it's another method to change
Mhm.
and to stop identifying with something or as something.
Mhm.
So yeah, I just think that whole one sentence there is, um, it's an example of programming. You program yourself with your thoughts and your feelings.
Mhm.
Yes, you have all that programming from when you were a young child and all the programming you've picked up since then along the way, but you continue to program yourself with the thinking feeling loops that he's talking about.
And what's really interesting is that he focuses on like where that programming happens, like especially the programming that happens from a young age to now in the body, which is in at least in his observation in the first three energy centers, so like the lower part of the torso. And so that's what he's focused on in this chapter, is getting the energy out of that part of the body and moving it up into the higher centers, and like getting you out of survival mode, because like the survival energy is those like three lower centers, which you talked about in the other chapter, in chapter 4 too, but I actually don't think we talked about that part. um that the first three centers, the lower centers, are the survival centers.
Mm.
And so I feel like, because he was it in this book or was it in something else where he talks there's talk of like the different minds. Yes, the different minds
He
that
did talk
all
about
of your
that.
centers have. It's like your mind isn't just in here, it's all in here as well. And that's like kind of like the subconscious mind, right? Is all of your the machinations that happen like throughout your body, in the different parts of your body. Like your heart has its own mind, and and you might not be thinking like with your heart per se, although maybe you can if you tap into it and you become more aware of it. But like it is thinking and it's functioning and doing. And so like that's the subconscious part of things. So when your survival energy gets like stuck, say in your first three centers, we could say that there's programming that's caught
Mhm.
there, and it's very physical, maybe more energetic. And so then the goal is to in this chapter to learn to release that energy, to move it up, so that you're using the energy that you already have in your body, but you're using it now for different things than it's been used before. So you're teaching your body and your energy to flow in a different way than it has before, to not maybe get stuck in fear, or stuck in
Mm.
anger, stuck in frustration, all these kinds of things that might get caught in the lower chakras, to move them up so that you can use that energy that you already have within you within the rest of your system. And I find that really interesting because it connects this idea of thoughts and emotions as like both so interconnected and interrelated, right? And and the idea that like your whole body in and of itself a mind that you can reprogram, and it has to be your whole body. It's not just your brain. You're not just restructuring your brain. It's everything.
Hmm.
And so I find that really interesting, and I also feel like there's something in the idea of like moving energy from like down here to up here that feels like, I feel like I understand that in like physically. Like there's something in my body that feels like, yeah, I want to move that energy up. Like,
Mhm.
yeah, like I could feel energy, like energy needs to flow. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I just thought that was really interesting. I did really enjoy this chapter.
Good, good. Yeah. Definitely, very interesting chapter. Um, what else do we have? I mean, honestly, that's kind of is that what the would you say is the covers the whole chapter?
I think that's what I meant by it felt like a shorter chapter, because I feel like the whole chapter is very contained on a specific subject.
I mean,
Um
he does make some interesting, points too. And
yes.
again, not things that we don't already know as hypnotists, but like here he says, A memorized set of automatic thoughts, reflexive emotional reactions, unconscious habits and behaviors, subconscious beliefs and perceptions, and routine familiar attitudes. So he's saying 95% of who we are as adults is so habituated through the repetition of that stuff that the body has become programmed to be the mind, and the body, not the conscious mind, is running the show.
Mm.
um, that means that only about 5% of who we are is conscious, and the remaining 95% is subconscious body mind program. So yeah, I mean, we learn that that's one of the first things we probably learned in hypnosis training is that, um, the conscious mind only makes up about 5% of our experience. Everything else is subconscious, and we don't even we and it's subconscious, below conscious level. We're not even aware of our habits and our programming that makes us do what we do, think what we think, believe what we believe, act the way we act,
And so a
all of
lot
that.
of this feels like it's what it's doing is bringing your consciousness, bringing more conscious awareness to your body,
Yes.
and therefore what's going on in your subconscious.
Mhm.
And yeah, and I do feel like that aligns with a lot of things we've seen, like somatic healing and somatic techniques comes to mind. Being more aware in the body, being more in the body, being more in the emotions, dealing with the emotions alongside the thought patterns.
Well,
Um,
even human design, making your decisions from a particular area of the body.
mhm. Yeah, being more just in touch with all of that, and I don't know if that makes more of the subconscious conscious, but I feel like that's kind of part of expanding. Like when people talk about like consciousness and expanding your consciousness, doesn't that mean kind of becoming more aware, becoming more tuned in, becoming more present? So I feel like I don't know, it makes sense. And I underlined or highlighted the same quote that you did, um, about the 5% of who we are is conscious and the remaining 95% is a subconscious body mind program.
Mhm.
And then it continues to say, so in order to create something significantly different in our lives, we must find a way to pull the mind out of the body and change our state of being. And so I guess that is kind of what my takeaway has been, is that we're becoming more conscious of the body and how it is all connected. And so when he says we're pulling the body out of the mind, or wait, the mind out of the body, I feel like getting more of that energy going and getting more of that energy up to the mind, the higher chakras. It's like it's expanding our mind, like our conscious awareness of like
Mm.
all of the energy that we have,
Mhm.
and everything that's going on in our body. I don't know if that is making sense.
No, I think it does.
um uh and then there's some other interesting observations or things that he made. Uh and you broadcast a specific energy signature through the third energy center that in effect carries the message, send me another reason to feel the way I am feeling. And so he's talking about this in with when he gives a specific example of someone who feels really angry. um
I underline the same thing. So
yeah,
we're you
we're
and I
in
are
sync.
totally on in sync
Yeah.
because yeah, yes, you broadcast a specific. I knew that sounded familiar. I'm like, where
Hmm.
is it? Yeah, it's right there. Yeah.
Yeah. So, like, he gives the example of someone who's really angry and experiences something that makes them feel angry. And then that feeling builds up. And specifically in this case, we're talking about the third energy center, which is like the solar plexus, right? Or at least it would be the solar plexus chakra, but I know that he kind of does things a little differently with his energy center system. And it would, like, build up there, and that energy would broadcast out and send the message to the surroundings and to the rest of the body, like, hey, bring me more things to get mad about. I'm going to get mad, and I'm going to keep
Right.
finding things to get mad about.
That's another way of talking about the thinking feeling loop,
Hmm.
right? That's what I'm saying. It's like repetitive. He says things in a lot of different ways. He says the
Yeah,
same things in a lot of different ways,
which
and
is really helpful.
which
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, yeah, some people will love it, some people will hate it, and some people will be fine with it, whatever. I mean, I'm fine with it. I think it's,
I love, like, having multiple angles to
yes.
see
Well,
things
and I
from.
and I think that's why we're underlining certain things because we're like, yeah, okay, that's another way of saying that.
Yeah,
And I like having different ways of saying the same thing.
exactly.
I mean, since I used to be a middle school and high school teacher, that's something that I did a lot of
Mhm.
saying the same things in different ways.
Yes, it's very
So to try to
teacherly.
reach everyone. Yeah.
Yes.
So I appreciate that.
And with that idea, right? That, like, if you're broadcasting, say, that, like, I'm angry, give me more things to be angry about from, like, the 3rd century, the idea is, like, the more that you tap into your energy and like, use that energy in a more conscious way and bring that energy up and through, the more that the energy doesn't have to just serve the unconscious intention of let me feel more of what I'm feeling just because that's what I'm feeling and that's what I'm broadcasting out. It's like you're working on clearing your signal so that you can broadcast out something that's more of your choosing, more
Hmm.
of your conscious choosing.
Right.
Not just I'm angry and now I'm unconsciously going to look for more things to continue that feeling.
Right.
It's like, well, can we bring that into love, like, and joy and all those things and broadcast more of that and ask for more of
Make
that.
that the
Make
momentum.
that the
Create
thing
that
that
the
you're
thinking, feeling
magnetizing
loop. Yeah.
to you. Yeah.
I mean, he also points out that, oh, did this my page turn? Yeah, is that, the cycle can go on for decades, whether what you're thinking is justified or not. And then the redundancy of that cycle hardwires the brain into a certain pattern. And, in that example he was giving was anger, and
Hmm.
repeatedly conditions the body emotionally into the past. I mean, it is so easy and common and normal and everyday for most people. And I'm speaking from experience because I had decades of thinking and feeling a certain way, not realizing what I was doing to myself or to my body, or the conditioning and the programming that I was reinforcing over and over and over again. And I would say for decades. And again, whether it's justified or not, that becomes hardwired, um and it becomes um a challenge to change the way you are thinking and feeling without some sort of tool and awareness or experience or something like that,
Hmm.
right? Something has to come along to shake things up, right? For us, it might be, as hypnotists, we would be like, oh, okay, hypnosis. Yes, we can shake things up with hypnosis. We can help you reprogram with hypnosis. It could be, his program here, his meditation here. Um, it could be, an experience that you have,
Hmm.
I've gone through that myself also, where I've had an unexpected, you know, spiritual, I guess you'd say, experience that stepped in and helped change my perception and really interrupted that programming,
Hmm.
So, yeah.
And I would say similarly, I've had those kinds of experiences that have happened very differently. I would say probably for me, but I th- I think it's like without those experiences, I don't know that I would have been as open to learning about some of these concepts. And so I wouldn't
Absolutely.
be here even in the first place. So it's kind of like that that was what got me to start to really, like, maybe the propensity to be open to something more, something different was already there, but then certain experiences really opened me up a lot more to, oh, wow, this is there's more to this. There's something possible here. There's a new way to see this, to look at this, to think about this.
Yeah, I mean, that's why I can't even blame, anyone for perpetuating their thinking feeling loops, or for um
And
reinforcing their programming, because you don't know what you don't know, right?
And I would say, I'm sure you would agree with this based on recent conversations we've had too, but I would say a lot of the programming or whatever, it comes from the society that we've been born into, grown up in, that has perpetuated a lot of this stuff, and in some cases, like, intentionally or not. But I feel like one of the ways that now one of the ways that we get out of that loop, right? That survival loop that is reflected in a lot of the things that we see around us in society that are not I feel like that are not functioning anymore, not working, or coming to light, that are obviously uh that that are obviously not of our choosing, not of our desires, or at least not of our conscious choosing and desires, right? And what we can do as individuals is, for ourselves, get out of that survival loop, right?
Yeah,
And make that
absolutely.
more of a norm in society, create a society where the survival loop is not perpetuated uh, by anything, like any systems around us, right? And the only thing we can do as an individual is to take responsibility for ourselves in that moment. Can we get out of the survival mind, and through that create change in our own lives that can also then extend into other people's lives?
And I actually, I even wanna say that, yeah, everyone would benefit from, as you said, taking responsibility for their own experience. But the thing is, so many people don't even realize that the power that is within them, the power that
No,
they have
exactly.
to
Yeah.
take responsibility, and, and can misunderstand what we and other people who say things like this, mean by taking responsibility, because we're just so unaware of the power that we have because of all of the conditioning we've received
Mhm.
from society. Again, some intentional, most of it unintentional. I mean, most parents aren't intentionally going to disempower their children with certain beliefs. They're just teaching you the way they think life is and what they learned.
And there are certain systems that have benefited from that
And that
programming.
exactly.
That as a society, I think we're probably all deciding, or a lot of us are deciding, we don't want those systems to perpetuate the way that they
Right.
have. Yeah.
Exactly. Exactly. That's why, I mean, this book that we're reading and things like human design and hypnosis, these are all just like small ways. I mean, well, I personally think hypnosis is a big way, but
I
just
mean,
different ways of being able to
the
take
smallest shift can be the biggest.
to empower yourself and take control, and take when I say take control too, it's not in a tense controlling sort of way. It's more like aligning with your true self, your true power.
And retraining yourself to answer to that.
Yes, yes,
And
yes.
yeah, which doesn't always feel easy or possible or realistic to the logical mind. But again, like what we're talking about here, getting out of survival mode, moving your energy, and tapping into your energy, and realizing how much of it you have and how much of it you can use for things that are more productive or more aligned with what you want than the survival fears that we have been programmed into. And like, and turn that into internal change that also is external change, as
Mhm.
within, so without. And like, yeah, and like taking responsibility is really in this case about taking back your own power.
Yeah, I mean,
And that's just because I feel like responsibility can seem like a heavy word. Some people, I feel, have this association with the idea of responsibility as something that's like thrust upon you unwillingly. You don't want to take responsibility because it's a lot, it's a heavy burden, and that's what responsibility means to someone. But in this case, what it means to me, and we might have talked about this in an episode as well, I don't remember, but is it means power. It means empowerment. It means there's always something I can do about this. It doesn't come from out here. The power comes from in here.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Well, you know, to be honest, I one of the things I could be doing better in taking responsibility for my own experience and my own frequency is paying less attention to current events that are going on. We're recording this mid-February of 2026. And I mean, I know that the attention that I have been giving current events, which is not extreme, don't get me wrong. I'm not immersing myself in it. But again, it's that loop. And it's also that attraction, right? You pay attention to it a little, you get a little more, you get a little more, you get a little more, you start paying attention. And now, I mean, if I want to improve my frequency and my vibe, then I need to take responsibility for what I am putting into my psyche.
Well, it's like if we think in terms of what he's talking about in the book, where you put your energy, where your energy's going. And
Yes.
is it being drained into something where you feel helpless and powerless, or is it being channeled into the power that you have which then in turn you can put outward into something that is helpful to society.
Right, because he has said where you put your attention is where you're putting your energy, basically.
Mhm.
And yeah, and so when I put my attention on certain things that make me feel horrible, then it's where I am putting my energy, and it's very draining. And it's not like I have to go out and do something physical to feel drained. It's very draining just to put your attention onto something.
Yes. And I feel there's something to be said for, when you do encounter something that gives you a strong emotion, it can it might inform or um it might direct you. It might inform a direction that you want to go in. You might say that inspires me or urges me towards some kind of change, right? Some kind of
Hmm.
change I want to make in the world, that in myself, that will be reflected in the world, some kind of change that can radiate outward and help
Right.
others.
So in other words, I know I don't like this feeling. I know I don't like this. Now, where can I turn my focus?
What is it that can generate more momentum for my world in
Hmm.
the direction I want it to go in?
Exactly.
How can I, and cuz like I feel like sometimes those stronger emotions can be vilified, but it's really the only problem is when you get stuck somewhere and you have emotion that gets stuck and you're stuck in a loop.
Right. That's
If
exactly
it
what I'm talking
if
about.
you allow it to move you more towards the direction you want to go, more towards the the new energy, the new
Right. You
situation,
want to use
you
it.
want to use it.
You don't want to let it use you.
Yes.
Right. So I know, I'll be honest. I've, gotten caught up in just barely knowing anything about it has just really used me.
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It has affected me, but I'm responsible for that. That's what I'm saying. I'm responsible for my own frequency and moving it where I want it to be.
And yeah, and what you do with your energy, what you do with the energy that's in your body. Me too. Yeah.
Mhm.
And I feel like I how I like to look at it or take responsibility for my energy is that no matter what I encounter or see, I I've been working on being much more present with the feelings, the emotions, the energy that arises within me in the moment that they happen, in the moment that I encounter them and
Right.
that I see them. So I'm not resisting the experience. I'm not resisting pushing down, keeping hold on these feelings, right?
And that's great. But you have to bring awareness to the situation.
Yes.
I mean, sometimes you just hear something, read something, see something, listen to something, and you kind of just get caught up in it. And you're not really thinking about, wait a minute, how is this making me feel? Where is this taking me? Well, you know what I mean? You're just not,
And I
you get,
think
you don't remain present.
mhm.
Your mind, your feelings, you go off into that.
And it's that presence that's the key.
Yeah, it really is. It really is. And
And I
it's not always the simplest thing, As simple as it is, it's not always that easy to get there.
yes. And I feel like I've gotten a lot better for my part to at letting and allowing things that happen in the world, no matter if they're inspiring and energizing to me or if there's something that's maybe angering, frustrating, infuriating, horrifying, whatever. Either way, I'm working on allowing that to motivate me
Mm,
further in a positive direction.
right.
Like, can this make me, create more? Uh, set the intention to live a happier, more fulfilled life,
Right. What can I
to
take from this
bring that
experience?
out into the world with me, to make a difference in a positive way in people's lives as much as I can. Like, what can that get? How can that move me and motivate me? And it's very simple, but I do feel like it goes hand in hand with what we're talking about. Moving energy,
Yeah.
moving from the survival reaction, like fight or flight, perpetuating like the emotion rather than using that energy and bringing it into a higher purpose, bringing it into, okay, and how's that going to move me in the world? How am I going to move?
Yeah. And I mean, in my experience, there are like ups and downs with that where like, oh yeah, you know what? I'm really good at being aware and not letting this get to me. And okay, I know what to do with this. And then
Mhm.
there are those times where you just
You get
you get
into
just get
this
lost in it. And
like,
yeah, I
what do
think
I
there's,
do? What do I even do? Like,
yeah,
it feels too big, it feels too overwhelming.
yes,
And
yes,
yeah, and it's like retraining yourself to not take that all on at once, but
yeah,
to always remember, I have power. I'm responsible for myself, and I can use that responsibility in a way that is productive for me, but also for the whole world. Because I
mm,
do feel like whether you're, you know, doing something directly to help someone in the moment, or you're directly helping yourself and feel more motivated and alive and aligned with life, I do feel like that ripples out and impacts everyone
yeah.
in your world, in your reality, you know. Um with all that being said, do we want to get into the actual like meditation exercise at the end of this chapter that is meant to like move the energy out of your survival centers?
Yep. Let's do that.
Let's talk about that because it's very interesting. Um, and we both have definitely tried it, worked a bit with it, so we can talk about our experiences too. We don't have to wait till the next next chapter to get into it.
Right, right. So this is at the end of chapter 5.
Yes. So, do you want to describe the meditation or breathing technique, or shall I?
You go for it.
Okay. So, since we're working with the lower three centers, this is a breathing technique that Joe Dispenza, I don't know if he like developed it himself. I think he said that it's a technique that like monks or Buddhist monks have been using. I don't think it's something that he just came up with himself fully, but what it's meant to do is like he actually goes into detail describing like how when you breathe in and out, like the I think parts of your skull like open, and like there's a bone in your
Oh, yeah.
pelvis that
I
like
should have underlined
tilts
that.
or something. Like, I don't know how it moves, but like,
He does talk about like the physiology
yeah.
of it or whatever. Yeah, you know
And
what? I wish I
as
would
the
have
breath
underlined that.
moves,
But
yeah.
something he said it's imperceptible.
It's like like yeah, you can't really feel it,
You
or
can't feel it. You're not
yeah.
going to notice it. It's imperceptible, but it happens.
And that's somehow linked with like the energy that like there's like a tube of energy and light that like moves up and down your spine, and like it's like connecting the physical motions of the body to like that energetic motion. And so in order to do that, you're meant to like squeeze all the muscles in your lower body, like so like your lower, like your perineum, your
Perineum.
perineum. Yes, sorry.
That's okay.
Perineum, whatever, however you pronounce it. The lower abs and then the upper abs, like that all of that, you're like supposed to squeeze that in as
Tighten them
you
and lift.
and lift as you inhale, and imagine the energy flowing from like your lowest energy center up through to the top of your head, and then like bring your attention to the top of your head, the very top of your head. And it's supposed to pull all that energy up and out and move it into your other centers. And it's not the easiest thing to do.
It is not.
Physically
Um,
speaking.
it is not. To tighten up all those muscles and take a slow, deep inhale,
And also like
and also
visualize.
visualize it going up. So now you're pulling the muscles up, you're inhaling down because that's what you do. And and because you go down, you inhale down into the belly, right? And then you're visualizing the energy going up. It's not that easy. And
It's kind of physically intensive.
it is. And I actually was working at it this morning. I was actually feeling better about it a couple of days ago. And then this morning I came to my conclusion that is not for me.
Really.
Yes. I realized that all of that effort to do all of that at the same time, I mean, I didn't measure my blood pressure, but I felt like my blood pressure was going up. I felt like this was not, it was not, I mean, maybe I'm doing something wrong, but it did not feel like a good experience, a healthy experience for me. I
Mhm.
will not, you know, nothing is for everyone. And just because something isn't for me doesn't mean it's not for you or somebody else. I like the idea of all of that, but I might work on like feeling the muscles and moving that up and imagine the energy coming out and releasing from those centers, but I'm not going to force myself into the whole the breath and the imagining because all of it together doesn't work for me.
Well, that's very interesting
Even though I was
because
getting better at it, I was like, no, it's still no.
I think that's really interesting though because it's good because we have two different experiences. It's
Hmm.
good that we have like two different perspectives to work with here.
Yeah, I think that's the nice thing about talking about it with somebody else because I could just sit here and tell you my experience about it, but that's just one person's experience. So at
Hmm.
least now you get two.
Yeah, well, I mean, because sometimes you can be very. I see this a lot. Like obviously, when people sharing their ideas online, people can be very like, "This is what I've discovered. This is my experience, and this is what it is." And it's nice to have two different ones so that, like, for the people who relate to your experience, they can feel like, "Oh, okay,
Oh, yeah, it's not just me.
yeah."
It was hard for me too, or I didn't like the way it felt, or, yeah. I mean, having said that, like I said, the individual part, like the whole the tightening of the muscles and and imagining you're pushing the energy out of them and clearing those centers. I mean, yeah, fine. I just didn't like the whole.
The motion of it, the really intense kind of
Well,
like
yeah, it
muscle
was,
movement.
yeah, and I felt like just so much pressure in so many different places that I just said, you know what? I like things to be smooth and easy, so I'm gonna do this in my own way and, not,
And
yeah.
I feel like that's valid. And honestly, I'll tell you this, I have encountered other people explaining a similar kind of like the same kind of idea of like you're imagining you're pulling energy up from like the root up through the system, but without the clenching, like that the clenching the muscles and everything.
Mhm.
Just visualizing that and imagining that. And it's meant to be the same kind of
Yeah,
idea.
I could just do that with my breath also.
Yeah, and I feel like in this chapter, in this case, the impression I got was that this was meant to be kind of really intensive, like, it's meant to really move things fast,
Yeah.
um, and I would say that for me, I think that kinda works. I kind of like the more physical action, and I feel like that comes down to I mean, listen, I don't know. Like, I always I kind of think of that as, like, my Aries energy when I need to really use my physical body more. I associate, like, the physical body I do feel is associated with Aries. Aries is fiery energy and everything, and I am an Aries, but it's like it's a very active fire sign. And I feel much more as the older I get, the more I need to tend to my body, like exercise, use my energy in a very physical way. And
Well,
so
I
for
also know
me, I
I know
think
your human design and it would be good for you to get physical exercise every day. So yeah.
And so and like today I did a weights workout. I honestly never used to enjoy working with weights, but I recently started doing it. And it gives me a similar feeling, I think, to like this clenching of the muscles thing where like I'm looking to strengthen my muscles. I'm looking to strengthen them anyway. This feels like a little bit of a workout to me.
Mhm.
And so I feel like that actually works for the way that my body operates.
Yeah.
And so while I haven't necessarily like I haven't experienced any like whoa major like spiritual experience. Like he describes that this can like open up a really like you can really like get those like gamma waves. I think he talks a lot about gamma brain waves and like getting your brain into gamma or high states of beta that can like really open you up and everything. I haven't had any experience like that. And he does kind of say it's a practice. It's something you have to work on. And even he even says that this is the kind of like exercise that you have to build on. So he gives you steps like you don't have to put it all together at once. Like you start by like squeezing the muscles and then you imagine the breathing and then
Right.
you like kind of step by step build on it.
Right.
But I did notice that although it was really difficult at first, it quickly became much more like muscle memory for me. Quickly became much more
Right, no, that is true.
yeah.
It did get the whole thing did get easier for me, but then this morning when I was there, I'm like, "No, it's just too much." I
It's
feel
too
like
much.
it felt like I was raising my blood pressure, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? So, I was like, "All right, it's just not for me. Doesn't mean it's not for you."
And yeah, and for me, I do think that I benefit from things that get me like physically involved. Where sometimes when I'm doing the meditations, my body wants to move like with the energy and everything. And you're not really supposed to move in a lot of meditations, but sometimes I do anyway, if that's what I feel like I want to do, you know? And so I feel like I am a very physically oriented person, and that's why I actually like this. Although I would say like again, I haven't had like any major crazy experiences with it or whatever. I'm still working on the technique and I don't know how much I'm going to continue it as part of a like a routine. I could see this being even if after we finish reading the book I don't return to these techniques all the time and I don't make them my like my thing that I do like oh my Joe Dispenza meditations. I do them every day for ever. Even if that's not the case, I could see myself returning to this every so often if I feel like, ooh, I feel like
Wanna get some
I
energy
want to get some
moving.
energy moving. Yeah.
Yeah.
I could definitely see that. So I I think the hardest part for me is the visualization, like adding that in and really feeling that and actually feeling the energy move because it's like I can visualize it, but I don't really always
Mm.
feel like I feel it. But that was the case too when I was working with just the meditation, the visualization by itself when I where like there were times when I almost felt like I could feel something move, but not really, and I wasn't really sure if it was working. And I just feel like that's something that I would have to I would have to just keep doing it,
Well,
and eventually I'd get there.
I think when I was, saying, "Okay, I'm getting better at this," I don't know if it was just from the physical act of lifting up all the muscles and tightening them,
Hmm.
or was it just that, or did I actually feel like, oh, it felt like, oh, maybe I felt lighter or something in the lower part of the body. Um, I don't know. But yeah.
Yeah, but it just didn't feel like it was right
Yeah,
for
just
you,
not
which
just
I
not right for me.
that's
Yeah.
important though because we actually recently I don't know when we're gonna put it out, but we did recently do a an
Trust
episode
yourself.
about trusting yourself
Trusting yourself. Yeah.
and
Trusting in your own, yeah, right. What's right for you and not
yeah.
and not, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And the thing is, this might not be for you at all. It's also the case that for some people, maybe, they try it out one time and they're like, this isn't for me. And then maybe they come back to it a few years later and they're like, it's the right
Yeah.
time for them.
Yeah.
That's always,
Definitely. I mean, I think I've said I've done that with books, right?
yeah.
I've picked up a book and I just couldn't get into it, and then I pick it up years later and I'm like, "Wow, this book is awesome. How could I not have kept reading last time?" But
Yeah. That happens to me too. It's just
yeah,
sometimes not the right time.
not the right time.
Hmm.
It's really interesting how that works.
Yeah. But I, uh, but I would say, yeah, nothing crazy to report for me in terms of like results from doing this, but just some interesting observations about how like honestly if anything at least so far it's taught me something about my body and reinforced for me some ideas that I've been coming to about like what it needs and it came at a time when I'm working on my strength So it kind of aligns with that
Yeah, that's
as
right.
well. Like, it's kind of a core workout. So I just add that into my
Yeah,
routine.
that is yeah. Yeah. And yeah, and don't get me wrong. I mean, I think it could have value for people. Obviously, it does have value for people
Hmm.
because plenty of people do it and have been doing, but it just didn't feel good for me. It just
Yeah.
did not feel, yeah. So, but I'm still loving the book. I'm still enjoying the book. Looking forward to the next. Actually, I started the next chapter
I started it
last
too.
night,
Yeah, it's more like
and
case
yeah, case
studies.
studies, living examples of truth, which I'm always interested in those.
Hmm.
I love that. But yeah, that's it. Was what about halfway through or more than halfway through the book now?
Yeah.
So
Uh Something like that, I think.
yeah. All
But
right. I think we're probably good for today, right? With chapter
yeah, I
five.
think we covered it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um I'm going to continue doing my best to continue with the meditations and do a little bit more work with the breathing technique, and uh I guess we can give a little update at the beginning of each episode from here on out, whether or not there's a new technique, just if we have any new experiences.
Okay.
If there's
Yeah.
anything else we notice.
Yeah. I don't know if I'll do any of it in between now and the next time. I'm not making any promises, but I might. I might just, just every once in a while like try to get the energy moving or something, but yeah.
It seems like you're just like not into doing the meditations or practices
I'm
either.
not really that into it. Honestly, I'm a little like I don't get me wrong, I think the book is great. I love the information, but I'm not like feeling the meditations at all. I might be missing something. So I'm not going to say that this is the end all and be all for anyone else but me. But I think I alluded to this early on is that it just seemed kind of random and out of order. Picture this, imagine this body part. Now imagine the space around it and all that kind of stuff. I like more order than that. And if
Mm-hmm.
that is an order, if there was order to that, then I want to know
Okay.
what's the logic behind that order. I want to know like that. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? Like so it was like, oh wait, starting with the space behind my eyes or whatever. Okay, why? Why that?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Why
yeah,
am I starting
yeah.
there? Where so for example, um as it goes like with human design, I have done meditations where I imagine every energy center and clearing it and refreshing it and like similar idea to what he's talking
Mm-hmm.
about. I imagine them in the human design terminology and in the human design like chart and the body graph, right? And I imagine and I move up. So as far as human design goes, all roads lead to the throat. All channels lead to the throat. So I work my way up to the throat and I clear the throat. But then I go up to the head and ajna and down to the throat and then clear the throat again. So and for me that has like logic to it, the order that I'm going in, moving the energy up to the throat, clearing the throat, moving the energy down, then from the from the head down to the throat, clearing the throat, like that makes sense to me. Whereas, oh, imagine behind your eyes, imagine the space between here and here, go, imagine the navel, imagine around the whole body, like, all right, well, what's, like, I don't know, it just seemed it might have, I might have missed something, or it might have a rhyme or reason, but like I don't see it.
So it's very much with the mechanics of like the way he's presented the steps that you do.
It just seems so random to just keep repeating that same thing. Like it just, yeah. I mean, well, maybe I'll think about, the space in my lungs. I don't know. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know.
And it's
And I don't want to be critical because I think it can be of great value to certain people. It just didn't resonate with me.
I mean, I would say like those like the specific parts in the first one that we focused on didn't make much sense to me necessarily either. But the idea that he presented of focusing on both like the internal space and then the space around it, he did connect that with like connecting both parts of like the whole like the physical and the like basically like putting getting yourself into coherence, right? connecting with the energy and also the physical material of your body. And so like to me that like made it make sense. And
Why the eye?
then
Why start with the eyes? And not the eyes themselves, the space behind the eyes.
and
So why
I
that?
was imagining that that was probably like the like pineal gland, like the that
Okay.
kind of area.
Okay.
So that's kind of what I put together from that. And then I figured it was like, oh, we're kind of like engaging with these three energy centers. I don't know why these three, but uh when I do it, I don't necessarily always like do exactly what he says. Like I'll do the energy center one and do it focus on all of them and then do it. You know what I mean? So like
Right,
I
right.
kind of do
Well,
it my
I
own
I
way.
recorded what he wrote in the book,
Mhm.
so I was doing
Yeah. Yeah.
what he said in the book all the time, and, again, like, I was like, "All right." Like, there was
Yeah,
always
yeah.
that part of me that was kinda like, "All right, I'm not sure I understand the order of this or the reason for certain parts. It seemed a little random to me." Now, I do like the part a lot where he has you write on paper, like you pick something that you want, you
Mhm.
write it on paper and you write down what it is, like the details about it, and then the emotions
Mhm.
of having it. That I can totally get on board with and relate to.
So I feel like that's where also our disconnect was cuz you were really talking about like the very specific words that he says and when he's
Yeah,
describing
again, I don't want to come
meditation
across as critical.
and
I
like
mean,
no but it's fine to be critical. um
or
the
negative. I
the
don't want to be
reason why
negative.
we were disconnected in how we were understanding each other is because you were coming at it from very much like the way like the words he used to describe it, the words he used to talk about the meditation and talk you through the steps, the steps
The
itself.
steps themselves, yeah.
And I don't even remember those because I've just been doing it like as like I've been doing like steps as I remember them, but like I've been kind of, so I don't remember the specifics. I'm just like getting into the vibe of like what I remember it being about and like focusing more on like the letters and the feelings and all that.
Mm.
And so that's where I think we had the disconnect of I was like, "Wait, what are you talking about?" Because I don't even remember what he said. But that makes sense. It makes sense.
Yeah, yeah.
So I guess my question for you is are you gonna still do, like, your own versions of, like, meditations like this?
Maybe. I'm not sure.
Mhm,
Maybe. I do have a recommendation though for
mhm,
people if anyone's doing this. So, he talks about like focusing on like the blackness of the space and all that kind of stuff. I recommend if you can make your room completely dark or wear a mask
mm,
because I find it easier to imagine the blackness of the space, the field um in in darkness.
and that's really interesting because you have also talked about, like, really taking things very literally, and,
Mhm.
like, so you wanna
Yes.
really, like, make it, like, literally like, you it's easier to imagine it when you're helping your imagination with, like
Yes.
yeah,
And yeah, and the thing is, you and I have extremely different designs, and including the mind and the brain and all of that stuff. And I do take things literally,
mhm,
and the interesting thing is, it's not that I do have an abstract um channel in my mind, but I also have a very logical
mm,
brain that does take things literally,
mhm,
Okay, you told me to imagine this. Okay. I'm imagining it that. I'm not like going off on my own tangent, especially when I'm doing something like this.
mhm,
I'm following this, but we're reading this book, we're talking about it on our podcast, so I'm following it like to the letter as best I can,
mhm,
and not everyone is going to give me all of the information that I need for each step,
yeah.
yeah,
I feel like I used to be much more that way, like, I used to think in that way more. Maybe, like, if we
conditioning
talk
from
about
me.
yeah, that might be because your mind was the one I'm most exposed to, and my mind is open, very open,
Yes,
like,
yes,
literally
and
in human design.
right now, as we're affecting each other,
Mhm.
I'm affecting your mind for sure.
So, I'm glad we did, like, delve more into this because I feel like it's important to have you talk about that experience in more detail because other people might be like, "Whoa, I wouldn't even have thought," but I have that same thing, like, I think of it the same way. Maybe they have the
Oh,
same
yeah, there are
issue
plenty of
with
people with
the
the same design, like, not
so
the same exact design, but their minds are very logical, literal, yes.
and even though you talked about it before, I'm glad we connected it in this conversation because I feel like you really talked through your thought process a bit more, and I
That's
appreciate
true. That
uh
does help me.
going through that. Yeah.
Mm. Yeah,
And it is interesting. So, all right, cool. So, I
I hope
guess
so.
next time we'll talk about my any experiences I have continuing with these meditations, and also see if you have
If I
any,
do,
if you
yeah.
do any,
I
if
might.
you add anything, if you have your own style that you create, and we could talk more about that then. But for now, you have anything else to add?
That's it.
Okay, yeah, that's it for me too. So, thank you for watching our episode,
Visit sunflowerphilosophy.com.
and you can check out our hypnosis services, our tarot services. If you're interested in also just like checking out my tarot channel, Sunflower Philosophy Tarot, there's pick a card readings on there, short readings on there, so you can see what my style is, and all the links will be in the description. So like, comment, subscribe, give our podcast a rating if you can, and we will see you in another episode very soon.
Bye for now.